Good morning to you. The time right now is 6:30 on this Thursday. We like to call it Friday Eve. Heading into the weekend. It has been a very busy week. Still keeping an eye on Irene, but it seems as though keeping our fingers crossed. We have a better outlook as the days continue to pass.
We're breathing a little bit easier nowadays.
Yeah, the forecast models are actually showing impressive consistency on that trend that's been off to the east. And
the head of the National Emergency Management Agency in the Bahamas says he's getting what he calls disturbing initial reports of damage from Hurricane Irene.
Officials say at least 2 settlements have been devastated on Acklins and Crooked Islands. There are reports that 90% of the homes in the settlements have been severely damaged or destroyed. Several hundred people live on each island, and so far no injuries have been reported. 2 islands were among the first to be hit yesterday as the hurricane made its way up the island chain.
And now that Hurricane Irene has battered the Bahamas, people along the East Coast are preparing for the worst.
Yeah, Melissa Rainey has those details.
Communities in the eye of Hurricane Irene aren't taking any chances.
We want folks there to take this storm seriously and to get prepared.
There's likely to be some significant impacts from this storm in terms of rain and winds.
Be comfortable on our coast, but be watchful and be cautious.
Evacuations are already underway in parts of coastal North Carolina. Overnight, Hurricane Irene brought heavy wind and rain to the Bahamas. The weekend could mean trouble along the East Coast. Many are holding out hope the storm doesn't end vacation plans early.
Until it gets closer up the coast, I'm not so worried. When it gets closer, I'll start to worry at the end of the week.
For News Channel 15's Good Morning Carolinas, I'm Melissa Rainey.
The U.S. Navy has ordered the Second Fleet to prepare to move ships out of the way of Hurricane Irene beginning early today. The Navy said overnight that the order applies to ships in southeastern Virginia. It is home to the largest naval base in the world. The Navy says Irene's current track shows destructive winds and a dangerous storm surge for the area. And officials in North Carolina's coastal Dare County say tourists must evacuate before Hurricane Irene approaches. The county issued the order late last night, saying evacuations would begin at some point this morning. As many as 150,000 tourists may be leaving the county, which is home to some of the exposed Outer Banks. Currituck County officials have asked visitors to think about leaving. Evacuations began yesterday from Ocracoke Island in Hyde County.
And people in North Carolina are preparing for that possible impact. Many in Cape Fear are all ready to batten down the hatches. Now is the time to prepare, and generators are one of the more popular items flying off shelves. Power outages are still a possibility, so people are taking precautions. In Wilmington, half of Tuesday's generator shipments were gone by 11 o'clock yesterday morning at the Home Depot. Some say generators are a necessity.
It sure is. I had one and it broke, so I have to get another one because I definitely do not want to be without electricity, being I live alone. So it's a worthwhile investment because they don't go bad. You have to use them.
Volunteers with the Central South Carolina chapter of the American Red Cross are at the ready in the event Irene causes problems here or elsewhere.
Well, some of the chapter volunteers have traveled to other states to support disaster and hurricane victims. Volunteer Chair Charlotte Foster says they'll wait and see what Hurricane Irene does before mobilizing. She says at times like this, donations really help.
It's not just, to come here to their chapter. It's to help their local neighbors in their time of need.
Foster says you can also donate your time by signing up for a volunteer training course. That's at the Red Cross.
An earlier hurricane forecast made us brace for Irene's impact by this weekend, but some people say that earlier forecast is unnecessary. 10 years ago, with advances in technology, the National Hurricane Center moved from a 3-day to a 5-day forecast. The center made the switch because the 5-day forecast was just as accurate as the 3-day. Well, those extra days means time to prepare for some, but others say it causes an unnecessary overreaction.
Absolutely, no question about it. Just be prepared for these hurricanes and everything.
Watching everybody kind of build up for the storm, so I think that's kind of where you see people overreact a lot is through like Twitter and Facebook.
The National Hurricane Center says in 2 to 3 years, they will move to a 7-day hurricane forecast.
Workers at the 200-foot tall Skywheel will remove the gondolas if winds reach 60 miles per hour or higher. The framework of the Skywheel is designed to withstand 135-mile-per-hour winds. The general manager says removing the gondolas is done often to service things like the air conditioning. It's just a matter of unbolting them, but he says removing all of those gondolas could take 10 to 14 hours. The Skywheel opened in May on Ocean Boulevard in Myrtle Beach.
Well, sounds like a big headache, and Irene's also been a big headache for local wedding planners who have been scrambling all week to come up with options for beach weddings.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Many local wedding planners have their own indoor chapels. Others suggest rescheduling for another day or moving to a reception hall or hotel. One planner says only one of her clients has canceled plans so far, and the others have handled changes pretty well.
They're disappointed, but at the end of the day, they're going to be married, and that's the important thing. They can always come back to the beach to have more beautiful pictures taken.
Rose says with devices that can access up-to-date weather information, wedding plans can move back to the beach at a moment's notice if the sky's clear.
You can find continuing coverage of Hurricane Irene online. You can find everything you need to know on the tropical page of CarolinaLive.com. And if you haven't already become a fan of News Channel 15 on Facebook or aren't following us on Twitter, we'll have updates there for you as well.
Oh, we do have other news. U.S. Representative Joe Wilson has gone to the hospital. Wilson's office said in a short statement that the South Carolina Republican was admitted to the hospital for a fever. The statement contained no other details, including when the congressman was admitted, if he remained in the hospital, or the name of the hospital. Wilson's office said last week that he was taking antibiotics to treat symptoms of Lyme disease after contracting an illness while working in his yard. Wilson canceled a planned tour of his district earlier this week because of his illness.
Fewer people compared to last year are planning to travel over the Labor Day weekend thanks to the sagging economy. AAA predicts 31.5 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles over the three-day weekend. That's down more than 2% from last year. Despite the overall decline, more Americans are expected to travel by car over the holiday weekend. 3 out of 4 drivers said gas prices wouldn't impact their travel plans. Fewer people are expected to fly to their destination because of the rising cost of air travel. Airfare is up 13% from last year.